Here we are on day 17 of my square foot garden, my first year of square foot gardening. I'm going to tell you now, mistakes were made, but let's see how it goes. Day 17, and things have grown quite a bit since day 7-ish. It seems like every morning I wake up and things are getting bigger and bigger, and I'm wondering if they're going to get overcrowded. The broccoli, the cauliflower, the tomatoes, even this lettuce here and the kale, the incredibly growing kale, they're far from being harvestable, and they're already getting big. The corn is getting bigger. Looks good. I had read somewhere online that you could put 9 corn plants in one square. I think that's probably not true, but I've done it in the other bed. Brussels sprouts are growing. Again, that kale is just amazing. Just amazing. So I'm looking forward to harvesting that and making kale chips. Lettuce is doing great. Everything is doing great. Again, I think it's the mix. That Mel's mix is, I think, is the secret elixir for these plants, because in the past I have been famous for not having a green thumb at all, but this was pretty much. I'm telling you, it's not me; it's the mix. So again, more Brussels sprouts. You can tell by the leaves that they're Brussels sprouts. They're looking Brussels sprouty. I love Brussels sprouts. Love them. Carrots are looking really good. I'd planted more than are there in that square right now, and some of them didn't make it. We had them under a fluorescent lamp in the kitchen, and I think that the fluorescent lamp didn't do any favors. I should have been bringing them out into the sunshine earlier, so they got used to that. Most of the plants, that wasn't a big deal, but I think the carrots it was. They're so little, and they're so fragile when they're growing. So the one problem I think I might be having, or I might be going to have, is bolting. And that's something when your plants, mostly the broccoli I think is what my problem is going to be. They flower or something too soon. Instead of growing that big broccoli head, they're going to spurt out some flowers instead. Because I don't know. I don't know that broccoli is upstate New York crappie. We'll see. We'll see. This one already has some sort of florets growing in it, and so I guess we're going to watch. And I've been looking at bolting online, and pretty much they're still edible. Apparently everything on the broccoli plant is edible, but you can't store it for whatever reason. So if it bolts, we'll eat it, and that'll be the end of it. But we'll let you know. Everything is just pretty much thriving. The mix again is the vermiculite, compost, and peat moss, and 33% each. For these beds, it was 8 buckets, 8 5-gallon buckets each for each of these beds that I have. Definitely have to wear a mask if you're doing that, because the peat moss and the vermiculite are very, dry, powdery. They get it, you don't want to breathe that in. But yeah, this is the garden, day 17. It's, if you look at the week 1 video, as exciting as that is, you'll see that these things have grown quite a bit. Quite a bit. Yeah, I guess the broccoli only likes certain temperatures, and I've been trying to water them at night when I water them to not burn them, but apparently broccoli only likes it, at a certain temperature, and not necessarily the air, but the roots. So if you have soil or mix or whatever you're using, your growing medium, if you will, is too hot, then they'll bolt. So I guess we're going to find out together. If that happens, I probably just won't grow it next year because, like I said, I do not have a green thumb, so I'm not going to be able to avoid that. That's just going to happen every time. I planted some seeds that weren't up last time, but now they're up. It's some zucchini and yellow squash, so I'm psyched about that. They take a little while to come up. Look how thick this tomato is now. This stalk is just thick as shit. And it's got more sprigs and sprouts and whatever. I'm not great with the terminology, folks. But they're growing really big. Oh, and then I was like, well, why are my peppers so small? And I looked back at my chart. These peppers weren't even in 4-inch pots when I planted them. They were just in those little 1-inch sprouter things. So for that, they're doing great. The tomatoes were, the bigger tomatoes were in the 4-inch pots. So that's why they seem more established. And they're just growing fast. And Dave bought seeds locally at the feed store and maybe one other place. So we've kind of been keeping track which seeds were better. And as far as we had Seeds of Change, they come in a really nice packet that is resealable. And we had this other brand, Livingston. They come in a paper packet, which is not in any way resealable. Fancy packaging aside, I'll say that the Livingston stuff, when we planted it, came up quicker and stronger. The Seeds of Change stuff caught up to it, but the Livingston seemed to, I don't know, it seemed to be a quicker starter seed. Here's the second bed. A lot of this stuff, this is where more mistakes were made. So I didn't have plants for each one of these squares, so I said, fuck it, I got to plant seeds. And then I was like, well, what if the seeds I plant, what if they all don't come up? So then what I did was I planted too many seeds. So now we're going to have to go in and weed out and make sure there's the proper amount of seedlings per square and try and maybe, here's carrots, spinach, there's my lettuce, that's way too much lettuce. So, we also planted flowers. So I'm going to have to weed out some of the seeds and maybe plant them in another container, a flower box or something. All right. So this has been my second edition of My Square Foot Garden Adventures. I hope you have enjoyed watching it grow. It is, if you have kids, I would say definitely have them do a square foot garden if you can get a little 4x4 patch for them, because it grows so fast. It's fun. It's as fun as sea monkeys. I swear to you. All right. I will see you next time, America.